Hello everyone, I'm Dan Philgreen, and this is Shell Point Today for Thursday, September 12th. On today's show, we learn how the Carefree group allows caregivers some all-important respite time of their own. We'll also travel around the globe as we preview Jim and Ginny Plummer's presentation this weekend about their around-the-world cruise. But first, did you know that there is a group of poets that meet regularly at Shell Point? You might hear their work on David Howenstein's radio show, or perhaps see it posted on the bulletin board or on the internet. If you enjoy reading or writing poetry, then today is the day for you. It's Coffee with the Shell Point Poets, an Academy event happening this morning at 10:15 a.m. in the Social Center on the island. All are welcome. Also coming up in the Academy, we have a special presentation about the Carefree group. Now, what is the Carefree group? It's a get-together of Shell Point residents who act as caregivers for a spouse or loved one. As we've said many times on this program, caregivers need to take care of themselves as well as their loved one. And by banding together, they are more likely to participate in Shell Point activities and other social events. Carl Meier of Rosemont is one of the presenters for the Carefree group, and he'll be speaking on Monday at 10:15 a.m. in the Manatee Room on the island. Terry Colath has this preview.
Hello everyone, I'm Terry Colath, and I'm here today with Dr. Carl Meier of Oakmont. We're talking about an opportunity for you to learn more in the Academy of Lifelong Learning about the Carefree group. Thanks for joining me, Carl.
Good morning.
We have a wonderful opportunity coming up here to meet and listen to three residents who have acknowledged and worked with challenges and set up something wonderful as a model for other people. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Bill Staples and I got together on coffee about 2.5 years ago and said, you know, when you live with someone who has some problem, whether it be physical, mental, or illness, or breathing, and they're not able to get to all the things that Shell Point has, you become a caregiver and somewhat excluded or from the other rest of the folks that are in the Shell Point. And we wondered if there was something we could put together to achieve the ability for both partners, the caregiver and the care receiver, to have fun and get out and meet one another and partake in various activities. We co-opted a couple of other folks, one of which was Ann Kimball, who had done a lot of work in social type work in Connecticut, and Lex Ralston. And the four of us did some planning for about 6 months and decided that we would meet. Number one, we would meet weekly. We would have lunch, since food usually makes everybody feel good. And we would do various things, such as some of the time we would do a trip, or we would have a lecture, and we'd play games, bocce and shuffleboard and bingo. And one of the exciting things about playing bingo, for instance, was that three of our mentally challenged spouses won at bingo. And I can tell you that it's very exciting to know that even though folks have challenges, they can succeed in other venues. They were thrilled, and their partners were thrilled that they were a part of a system. And I think the neat part about Carefree is that it's a support group for both caregiver and receiver. We laugh, we're comfortable with one another, we respect one another, we accept one another where we are today, and generally look forward to meeting. We meet every week. Now, sometimes we're away, but I think that most of us meet probably at least 45 of the Mondays we get there in a year.
And I also want to point out that there was a lot of generosity in this. Not only were the four couples looking at what you're saying for themselves, but particularly you and Dr. Staples starting out, I know you wanted to come up with something that other people could also take part in, perhaps from the start thinking of future groups.
We think that there are many people who are somewhat cloistered in their apartment, and we think that they could get out of it, and both partners regardless of their activity, could have some fun. We've been to Ding Darling. We've had lectures at Ding Darling. We've had a special bus trip with a docent. We've been to the Lakes Park with a docent taking us through the garden. And I have to tell you that the people at Shell Point come out of the woodwork, so to speak, to help us. We have Lori Kohler, who's a caseworker, who is our advisor. Tom Frankenpaul always finds some place that we can meet, because we sometimes have a movie or a show that a slideshow that we want. And Inga Bregdahl has kind of fun. We've used some of her programs and integrate them. It's kind of a nice transition period for being totally independent, and as we go down the road of life, seeing some of us, all of us, lose some of our modalities of day-to-day living, so that when we integrate into Kings Crown or Arbor, or the Springs, we've been to all of them, using their facilities, it's kind of neat to know that, and get exposed to where we may well end up.
Sure.
It is fun, and in fact, there's a lot of laughing on everybody's part. And we do charades. We have word challenges. Give the definition of a word. Which sounds kind of crazy for folks that have memory loss, but it's interesting that people can pick up on things, and they all do well.
And I love the name, Carefree. No matter what challenges a couple may be dealing with, this is the time in the week that you look ahead to just spend some carefree time together. We hope you will come out Monday, the 16th of September. Meet with some people who have put this project together and who are enjoying carefree time. You'll hear all about it.
We have several events coming up next week that appeal to world travelers. Whether you have stories of your own or enjoy hearing the stories of others who have been to exotic places. Next Tuesday, September 17th, we're having a Get to Know Your Neighbor event for all the world travelers at Shell Point. If you've been on safaris or cruises or mission fields, or even lived or worked for significant periods in another country, then this is the group for you. Get to know your fellow world travelers at a fun social event next Tuesday, September 17th at 1 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. One Shell Point couple who definitely qualify as world travelers are Jim and Ginny Plummer. They've been on dozens of international treks, but none more ambitious than this past January, when they embarked on a 4-month-long cruise around the world. From South America to Australia, Vietnam to Sri Lanka, Madagascar to Namibia, they saw it all. They're going to be sharing pictures from their expedition at a special information forum this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. Here's a preview of all the destinations they'll be showing you.
I was in the Air Force for a long time, and then we traveled all over the world together while we were in the military service. Wherever we went, we had fun. We enjoyed seeing things, traveling, and that was something that we've always done.
I always wanted to go on this. And we signed up for a Around the World cruise about 1.5 years in advance. And we followed the blogs of other people who were on the cruise for that whole 1.5 years to see what it would be like. So we were well prepared. So we started in Fort Lauderdale. We went through the Panama Canal.
Left Peru and headed westbound, and the first stop was Easter Island, which is one of the bucket list items that we wanted to see, but unfortunately the weather was a little rough and the waves were pretty high.
So we sat up in the bar and we saw the statues.
And then Pitcairn Island, after Easter Island, that's where the Fletcher Christian and the mutineers ended up on Pitcairn Island, and their families' descendants are still there. But it turned out that everybody on the island had some vicious flu. How in the world it got out to Pitcairn Island, I cannot imagine. They did come out to the ship. Our ship gave them a bunch of supplies, food and other stuff that they wanted. So next island after Pitcairn was Tahiti.
Tahiti. Papeete.
Papeete, and we didn't do too much there. We We'd not only been there on our honeymoon, but we'd been back a second time.
For our second honeymoon.
From there we went to New Zealand. And we spent a week in 5 different ports in New Zealand. That was probably our favorite location where we traveled. The weather was magnificent, and the people were so friendly and so nice, and there was so much to see and do. And
we were in Napier, and they just happened to have a bagpipe contest, and all these different bagpipe groups were there. We went to the Marine Museum in Auckland, where they had a lot of information about the America's Cup.
I went on just a wonderful hiking trip there with a group of wilderness hikers, and had a great time.
And we went to a sheepdog demonstration. I mean, we also got to see all the animals down there, the kangaroos, the wombats. Yep. We went down to Tasmania, saw the Tasmanian devils.
After we left New Zealand, then we went across to Australia and had just fantastic time in Sydney, as everyone does. We sailed south from Sydney around the southern part of Australia. So we went to Adelaide and Kangaroo Island, and then up to Perth, Fremantle, spent 2 nights there. And then we went up to Indonesia. So we went to Bali and to Makassar, another island in Indonesia. We went up into the Philippines, and those were 2 of the best islands, Puerto Princesa and Manila. And really, the people were really genuinely excited to see us and happy we were there, and went out of their way. When you left the ship, there was all kinds of people there to greet you and welcome you. And then we left and went to Hong Kong. We enjoyed Hong Kong immensely. There's so much, again, to see and do. And I had been there 40 years ago also. And I thought they couldn't build any more buildings 40 years ago, and they're just massive now.
At night, they have an illumination of the buildings. We were just on the deck, and they have lasers, and the buildings all light up different colors. It's just beautiful. It really is. And we went out into the harbor to one of the famous floating restaurants. Hong Kong was very nice.
We went to Vietnam, to Nha Trang, and had a wonderful visit there also.
In Vietnam, we took a great tour, and we went to a noodle factory where they were making the noodles, and it must have been 200 degrees in there, and it was just, I don't know. We didn't want to eat noodles the rest of the trip, let me tell you. We went to where they made the little Vietnamese hats.
We ended up in Singapore and spent 2 days in Singapore. We went up to Malaysia and Thailand, a couple of islands up the coast, up to Phuket. I went up to the top of the mountain there on a tram. It was beautiful. From there we went over to Sri Lanka.
This is another thing, we went out to a tea plantation. And
we left there and went straight across the Indian Ocean, stopped at the Seychelles Islands, and then went to Madagascar.
Nosy Bee. That's where I got this necklace. I think it's a palm nut, someone said, but it's from Nosy Bee, which is a small island off Madagascar, famous for the lemurs. That's where one of the few places lemurs live in the world. So we went to Mozambique, which was really a very interesting city, Mobutu.
And from there we went into South Africa and went to 3 ports in South Africa. Went to Richards Bay and then into Durban. And in both locations we went on little mini safaris, day safaris into smaller safari areas. And the first day, Richards Bay, it was just pouring down rain, so it wasn't much fun.
All the animals were too smart to come out.
In Durban, we had more success on the little mini safari there.
What did you see?
Saw a lot of wild animals.
The Cape buffalo.
The zebras, the giraffes, things like that.
wildebeest.
The big surprise was Cape Town. We knew nothing about Cape Town at all.
It's a great city.
What a wonderful city that is. A very international cosmopolitan city over in Namibia.
It was one of my favorite stops. They have these huge colonies of flamingos. The part we were in were these fantastic sand dunes, just hundreds of feet high, that go right down to the ocean. I am not very brave. And this tour, I kept on asking our friend who did it, well, we're just going to go look at the sand dunes. She said, yeah, we're just going to go look at them. So we go out in the four-wheel drive. We went right up them in the four-wheel drive and right over the top.
Yeah.
Right over the top.
That was great
It
fun.
was great fun. And then we had lunch out in the middle of this bowl of sand dunes, and they bring out fresh oysters and all this stuff and wine. It was just incredible. We did have a good adventure there. It was just a beautiful place.
From that point on, we go across the South Atlantic and we stop first at St. Helena, which is a very small island out there. And if you've heard of it at all, you're going to know that that's where Napoleon Bonaparte was exiled, out in the middle of the absolute middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And so we visited his home, Napoleon Bonaparte's home, and his grave site where he was originally buried. By the time we got to the equator, we made 2 stops in Brazil, at Fortaleza and then at Belém. Belém being the entryway to the Amazon. Trekking in the jungle, in the Amazon jungle there, and had a pretty good time.
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia. I got off and wandered. I did a lot of walking around town, which we've been there too many times before. And it's an island, it's nice. And then back to Fort Lauderdale. So it was 115 days, close to 50 port stops. We had 19 formal parties on board the ship, so we had to have the tuxedo and all the right gowns, and you get to know everybody. After a 1-week cruise, you're just somebody that's coming and going, but on a long 4-month cruise like that, you're part of the family.
It was hard to come back. It was bad having to make our own bed after 4 months. That
Do your
was
own cooking.
not a good feeling.
So I'd recommend it to anybody that has 4 months free time.
Wow, that was a whirlwind of a travelogue. Of course, trying to recap a 4-month-long cruise in 10 minutes just isn't possible. That's why Jim and Ginny are offering a special presentation on their journey this weekend. It happens Saturday at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. All are welcome to hear the details of this amazing cruise. For now, let's cover all of Thursday's happenings from Resort Services, followed by your Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Today is Thursday, September 12th, and welcome to the Happening segment of ShellPoint TV. I'm Suzanne Zavada, and I'm here with Bev Chanley to go over everything happening at ShellPoint today. We'll start the day off at 7:15 with the Health Connections Bend, Breathe, and Balance in the Health Club on the island. At 8 o'clock, the Men's Golf Association will be out at the ShellPoint Golf Club. Also at 8 o'clock, we have the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis Group out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. 8:30, we have the Paddlers Club at the Kayak Storage on the island. At 9:15, Shuffleboard will be played out at the Shuffleboard courts behind the Resident Activity Center. At 9:30, the Current Events Group will meet in the game room at the Woodlands. Also at 9:30, the Ladies Match Play Tennis Group will be out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 9:45, we have Introduction to Beginning Line Dancing at the Health Club on the island. And at 10 o'clock, we have a trip leaving on the Suzy Q. Woody's for lunch. Sign up is required. At 10:15, we have basic line dancing in the Health Club, and then at 11:15, we have advanced line dancing at the Health Club on the island. Now let's go to Bev for the afternoon.
Thank you, Suzanne. We're going to start at 1:15 with Mahjong. That'll be played in the Library Lounge down on the island. And then 2:45, we have a Health Connections class. This one is Balance and Mobility Training Level 2. That'll be in the Health Club. It's currently full. At 4 o'clock, we have the seamstress with her weekly service. She'll be in the Osprey Room down on the island. At 4:30, we have the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. They gather in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. 7 o'clock's the time they play pinochle. They'll do that in the Library Lounge. And our last activity for the day is 7 o'clock. We have the Trailblazers Bible Study in the Game Room of the Woodlands. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you back here again tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Terry Coleth with your Academy information for Thursday. At 10:15, we have Coffee with the Neighbor, Coffee with the Shell Point Poets. This will take place in the Social Center on the island, and a ticket is required. At 1 o'clock, Mahjong Basics will begin in the second-floor country kitchen at the Arbor for those who have signed up. And at 1 o'clock, Apple iPad, got one? Now what? Will take place in the Oak Room at the Woodlands. Sign-up is required. Tomorrow, our new class is Life Review, or Reminiscence, with Dr. Sheila Sklar of Eagles Preserve.
Menus for Thursday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is pork schnitzel with German potato salad and braised red cabbage. The dinner special is the Crystal Carving Board for $11.95, and the soup of the day is navy bean. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Thursday, enjoy a meatball sub with fresh fruit for $6.95. The dinner special is Thai night for $7.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, I'm Randy Woods, and it's my privilege to serve as the Minister of Worship and Music at the Village Church. I often think of the words of David as he writes in Psalm 122. He writes these words, "I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord." It is certainly a joy and privilege for us to gather together each week for the worship services at the church, and it's very convenient too. It's my desire that each and every person in our community would have a sense of joyful celebration when attending a service at the Village Church. For me, it's a joyful experience as I join my body, soul, and spirit with others at the church and attribute worth and praise to God. I'm not much of a singer, but I think I sound really good in the context of a singing congregation or a chorus. The bigger the ensemble, the better I sound. I really do like to lift my voice in praise to God. And the purpose of our worship services is to give people the opportunity to do just that. And by sharing this music expression and worship, we accomplish the purpose of connecting people to God and to each other. What a powerful experience in relationships. You and me singing together, worshiping together, praying together. A grand, joyful celebration, making connections with God and each other. In recent weeks, as we've gathered for Sunday morning worship, our choir has begun the service singing the Carol Sailor anthem entitled Celebrate. The anthem sings this message: celebrate, come celebrate. Join in as God's people in worship and singing. Celebrate, come celebrate. We're part of the body of Christ. In His love, we are unified. By His grace, we've grown. Praise His name, come celebrate. Praise God, for we are His own. Regularly, we address God in worship with songs of praise and adoration. It's a joy to lift our voices in song. Singing together, we can sing of His praises in a way that we cannot do alone as we gather here at the church. I know the days in our community are busy and full of great opportunities. Yes, I've learned that even in a retirement community, there are so many places to go, so many good things to do, and so many people we want to spend time with. It's easy to skip out on church. Let me encourage you to share the joy of fellowship with your friends and neighbors as we gather again for worship services this week at the Village Church. The writer of the book of Hebrews instructs us to not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing. There's great benefit and blessing found in the church fellowship. It's a joyful celebration when we worship God together. Of course, I'm aware that everyone can't always get to the church to participate in this service, but I remind you that you can always share in the Sunday morning worship service via the live broadcast at 10:15 a.m. on Sunday at Shell Point TV, Channel 12. Also, the Sunday morning worship service is rebroadcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m., 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. on ShellPoint TV, Channel 13. When we gather again this Sunday, whether it's Sunday morning worship, Sunday evening, or perhaps Wednesday night, I invite you to join us as we unite our voices, our hearts, in joyful celebration of God's goodness.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as David Singer describes how to craft your written memories and stories into creative nonfiction. Until then, this is ShellPoint Today for Thursday, September 12th. I'm Dan Filgreen, and from all of us here at ShellPoint TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.